Story 1. Just look at r/conservative. They think they are winning. They don't care. They have moved beyond disillusionment to being fully immersed in a cult mindset. Story 2. I don't know what you're talking about. There's absolutely nothing on Fox News about the market crashing today. Really, there isn't. I just checked. It's crazy. Story 3. $4 trillion in exchange for renaming the Gulf of Mexico and establishing English as the official language of the United States is the art of the deal. He is a great businessman like you have never seen before. Story 4. It was perfectly predictable. Even some economic experts said his policies were inflationary and misguided. He only supports tariffs because he exploits the exemptions and turns them into a tax that benefits only his allies, as a study from Lehigh University and others have pointed out. Impeach and remove. Story 5. Expected. He is a terrible businessman and knows almost nothing about running a government. The government is not a business, and he is trying to run it like one. Story 6. I feel like a bedridden patient who cannot move or talk, watching someone dismantle my house before my eyes. Story 7. He bankrupted 4 casinos, along with any other business he touched. The United States is just another business, so he has the perfect track record. Normal Americans will pay the price while he walks free. Story 8. I feel angry, not just at him, but also at my fellow uninformed American neighbors across the country. It still boggles the mind how easily led people are. This individual is the worst person to run our lives, the worst to ever walk the earth. There will be so much blood spilled because of this person's choices. I strongly oppose him, the GOP, and anyone who voted for or supports him. That is how I feel. Story 9. Normal Americans with intelligence dislike him and are quietly lamenting the apparent imminent downfall of our country. Supporters are expressing their admiration for him and how they are finally proud to be American and respected in the world again, while remaining oblivious. It is a troubling time for the United States and the world. Story 10. It will benefit everyone who shorted the markets and made money, as well as those who buy back in right before it rises. Essentially, it is advantageous for wealthy individuals. Story 11. If an economic depression does not shock his voters back to reality, I fear we may have to let them starve. Story 12. As bad as the stock market is, I fear the forthcoming bond chaos more. He urged China and Japan to stop devaluing their currencies. One of the reasons the United States dollar is the largest currency reserve and enjoys low debt costs is that countries like China and Japan attempt to appreciate against the dollar. At this rate, something systemic will break. Story 13. I am retired, and it makes me feel unwell. People who did not bother to vote need to take a hard look in the mirror because he did not hide who he was. Story 14. In a time when inflation lingers like an unwelcome specter, and we have a government that seems ineffective while being frighteningly effective at the same time, it is really hard to understand what is happening. All that to say, I am tired of living in unprecedented times. Why can't we just have normal people running the government? Why can't we have leaders who aren't a heartbeat away from death? What error did we commit that led to this new idiocracy in which we seem to be living? Story 15. It's strange that a businessman who has failed at every venture he has undertaken would be ineffective at running a country. Story 16. It's only just begun. The international ramifications of US fascism will have crushing effects on our economy. This is obviously intentional to cause mass suffering and obedience, much like pre-World War II Germany. It's going to get a lot worse, as our new leader has promised. Story 17. He is a Russian sleeper agent whose mission is to dismantle America from within, isolating the nation. This involves severing America's ties with its old allies in Europe, asserting Russia as the dominant power on the continent. Russia threatens Europe, and America will not intervene. Story 18. The intelligent among us are horrified. The brainwashing cultists don't care. The only thing that matters to them is controlling their opposition. It is truly pathetic what the Republican Party has become. Story 19. He is a Russian agent contributing to the decline of the United States in favor of Russia. His actions in such a short time have undermined years of diplomacy and will damage the United States economy for years to come. Russia has emerged victorious in the Cold War. Story 20. He used to say that Biden was going to ruin everyone's retirement savings plan. Now I see how he bankrupted a casino. Story 21. Is AskReddit just asking obvious questions like this now? Every time I look at it, it's about Trump or Elon. What do you think? Clearly isn't good. People who voted against him are understandably upset, and it seems the whole country is suffering to provoke the opposition. Story 22. Voting for Trump once? You were misled. Voting for Trump twice? You are misguided. Voting for Trump 3 times? You are a betrayer. Story 23. As a retail investor trying to use the markets to compensate for inflation in an expensive area, I feel frustrated. For months, I heard how Trump would be great for the market, how he really cares about it, how he uses it as a measure of success, and would be beneficial for markets by removing barriers for mergers and acquisitions and cutting onerous regulations. However, words mean nothing. Biden rarely talked about the markets and seldom met with CEOs, for which he has faced criticism from Wall Street. But he did not engage in trade wars that could harm the US and global economies. What the markets really want is stability, and I do too. Story 24. I have a real fear that Trump will dig in on the tariffs, and the House will not pass a spending bill. The consequences could lead to a default on the national debt, destroying the value of the dollar, causing an economic depression and civil unrest. This could create an opportunity to implement martial law and end democracy before the month is over. I have cried for my country and begged forgiveness from the rest of the world. Know that the true enemy is Russia. They have figured out how to undermine the United States from the inside out. Story 25. As a European with no real background in economics beyond the basics I learned at university while studying politics, I often hear or read how countries intend to respond to Trump's tariffs by raising their own. This would definitely hurt the US economy, as we saw when the Dow Jones fell the moment he announced tariffs on Canada and Mexico, which is likely to come. Now that I think of it, couldn't that have been the plan from the beginning? Trump crashes the US economy, while Thiel and his associates buy in at a low price. After that, he rolls back the tariffs while declaring some nonsense along the lines of, "We won. No more need for them." Stocks go back up, and he and his friends effectively purchased America for a bargain. Am I missing something? Or why is this not discussed more widely? Is there a way to prevent this from happening? Sorry if it's not clear what I mean, but English isn't my first language, and I really struggle to understand the approach of countries and people to his actions. Story 26. I believe things are going to worsen. We see empty shelves, rising prices, and significant layoffs. Our allies are becoming adversaries. Reviving American manufacturing is important, but who will build those factories? We need workers. This situation is overwhelming, and it is essential to hold leaders accountable. Story 27. His inner circle has probably shorted significantly ahead of this. He will manipulate the markets up and down while profiting from them. Story 28. I am concerned that Trump is changing too much and too fast, which is not allowing the market to be sustainable. Dogecoin has not found fraud. Dogecoin had cut programs, but again, at an extremely fast rate. So fast, in fact, they have had to backtrack multiple times in rehiring because we needed the programs that were cut. I believe this all needs to slow down, but Trump is creating a bad financial situation on purpose. Story 29. Not surprised. His followers are economically uninformed, so they won't care. Those in power often prefer to manipulate the uninformed. Story 30. I'm not surprised that it happened, though I am a little surprised at the speed and enthusiasm with which his administration is damaging the nation. Story 31. We all knew it would happen. Trump clearly does not understand how economics work. There are no reputable economists who believe that tariffs are an effective economic policy. Story 32. The question is why? What is the end goal? It is not capitulation by Canada, China, or Mexico. Maybe it is an excuse to buy everything from Russia? What is the end game, as it certainly is not America first? Story 33. Trump has been in office for less than 2 months, and already we are on the brink of a stock market crash, a severe cryptocurrency liquidation, and a slide toward a recession, with millions losing their jobs and unable to pay rent. Egg prices have doubled since his election, and a single avocado is predicted to cost $8 by the end of this month. We still have 3.8 years to go. Story 34. Everything the man touches turns to chaos. He is entertaining, that's all. I haven't lived in the United States for 15 years, and I am simply shocked he was elected a second time. I knew the country was capable of foolish decisions, but this is something else. Story 35. I am pretty sure he is trying to harm the US economy so that someone can come and buy the country for a fraction of its worth. Story 36. To be honest, his supporters seem indifferent, saying things like, "Burn it all down." They act as if they are living in a mythical version of post-war America from the 1950s. His main supporters are baby boomers on Social Security. He intends to eliminate and privatize Social Security next, and they don't seem to care. He plans to cut taxes for people making over $500,000, while everyone's taxes will increase. Story 37. I'm not surprised at all. I have a friend whose job is purchasing building materials, and he already has a 25% increase waiting for him from vendors. Supporters of Trump won't learn until it directly impacts them, so personally, I hope every country that Trump is affecting retaliates strongly. Story 38. Trump is an agent of chaos. It has been obvious from the beginning. I am surprised it took the stock market this long to notice. Story 39. His old self doesn't care about America's future. He's in revenge mode, and it's both pathetic and terrifying. Story 40. As an American Democrat, I am enjoying it. Why? The sooner this deceptive salesperson and his Make America Great Again supporters destroy our economy and our standing in the world, the sooner the American people will wake up and hopefully lead to rational democratic governance for the next 20 years. Story 41. Second verse, same as the first. It's as if people don't remember what happened at the end of his previous time. He's simply picking up where he left off. Story 42. Things are going to get worse. The Senate and House will not take action to stop Trump until they believe it will negatively impact them, and many in my family who support him are still celebrating this. The markets are down over 4% in the last month, and I predict they will drop another 2 to 3% due to tariffs. By the end of the first quarter, the slowdown in retail sales and consumer spending will lead to another decline. Furthermore, by midsummer, the ripple effect of layoffs in government and private sectors will become evident. The second quarter earnings are likely to be a nightmare, and by late summer or early fall, we may be in a full recession. After these challenges, I believe there will be enough senators and representatives on the right to start speaking up, although mainly to protect their majority through the midterms. They will continue to support Trump until the first quarter of 2026. If the economy is still trending downward when midterm campaigning begins, they will blame Biden. If that strategy works, they will maintain their approach. If it's clear that blaming Biden isn't effective, then some Republicans may begin to push back and openly criticize Trump. We will lose significant amounts of money. The economy may suffer for the next decade, if not longer, due to the soft power we are losing. Republicans may observe this deterioration until they fear losing the Senate in the midterms, at which point we might see them turn against Trump. Things are going to get worse. Story 43. Americans on Reddit, what are your thoughts on Trump wiping nearly $4 trillion off US markets in just a single day? I'm not a fan. It is frustrating to see this oncoming crisis and feel powerless to do anything about it. I warn people and encourage them to protect their self-interests, but they continue to harm themselves. And, of course, we are all affected. I will suffer because some people want to push their political agendas. There is a narrative suggesting that this is simply Trump being reckless and that these are unintended consequences, but I do not believe that. This seems very intentional. If the economy crashes, the billionaires can buy up what remains at a bargain. They will be fine, benefiting from cheap labor while the rest of us suffer to make them even wealthier. Story 44. We just observed the rise and fall of the Dow over 30 days, and it matches exactly what happened in December 2024. Gaining perspective and extending the time frame when analyzing trends against historical data can help mitigate undue alarm. Story 45. You are asking this question on an overwhelmingly democratic social platform. Half of the country would respond differently. Reddit is not representative of the nation's overall perspective. Story 46. This is what Republicans voted for. I hope every single person who voted for him gets everything they voted for. They get to suffer like the rest of us. Story 47. Americans are unwise to choose an unqualified and hateful individual to lead the country. They deserve the consequences of their decision. Story 48. Oh wait, it gets better. We angered our best ally in Canada, disrespected the European Union, and we are making daily phone calls to Russia. He is a clown. It makes sense why he had 6 bankruptcies. Story 49. I told my mother the consequences of Trump's actions, and she replied, "Whatever it takes to win." We live in an age where people cannot accept being wrong, and until they are compelled to leave retirement and return to work, they do not care. Story 50. I remember his first term when everyone was dismissing how high the stock market was, saying it had nothing to do with the economy. They insisted it was still in poor condition. Then, for the past 4 years, we were told that despite all indicators of a struggling economy, things were good because stock prices were high. The intellectual dishonesty surrounding the stock market is now simply amusing. Story 51. I am waiting to see the Olympic-level mental gymnastics that Fox News and its loyal followers will do to justify why this is actually a good thing. Story 52. It's not surprising, but it makes me want to call everyone I know who criticized Bidenomics, despite the stock market being wildly successful during his term. Story 53. Batten down the hatches. He is going to make it much worse, so let us see what people think once he really gets going. Story 54. This is the Republican platform. Destabilize the United States economy, dismantle every government agency and program, and then privatize everything to allow billionaires full control in rebuilding. They control most major media platforms, allowing them to spread propaganda and keep people uneducated and distracted by cultural conflicts. It is going exactly according to plan, and supporters are satisfied with the outcome. Story 55. I voted for the other outcome. Obviously, more people did not. I am fortunate to be in a position where it would take a lot more for this situation to affect us. I feel for those who did not vote for this. For those who will be negatively impacted and voted for him, I hope the situation becomes as challenging as possible for you. Unfortunately, that includes my own mother. Story 56. I just don't know what to do. It's genuinely like being in a looking glass. I cannot believe, coming from a military family, that I am saying this, but I am rooting for Canada to hurt us economically badly. I don't think anything else will get through to his supporters. They're absolutely insane. Story 57. This is like when you hit your toe on the coffee table, and it takes a couple of seconds for the pain to set in. In that moment, you know you've hurt yourself, but you aren't yet feeling the pain, and it's going to hurt. Story 58. I believe that most people here do not own stocks or understand how the stock market operates. I am not an expert, but I do own stocks and have lost thousands so far, and I am not overly concerned about it. The stock market is largely speculative and depends on a company's potential success. The majority of stocks are owned by the top 10% of income earners in the United States. Therefore, it primarily affects the already wealthy in terms of the stock market. Unfortunately, sometimes you have to take risks to achieve your goals. Story 59. I could not care less about the stock market. I am much more concerned with our democracy at the moment. If a stock plummet makes a certain segment of Americans and most of the administration care about that, then I support it. Story 60. I am not even checking my stock accounts because it is so disappointing. What is more concerning is everything he is doing. I believe he is trying to destroy it all just to prove he can. It was a horrific day for America when he was re-elected. Story 61. I do not want things to get worse, but if I have to be at the table facing difficulties, then I want to highlight every negative aspect of the situation. Story 62. Planned action. They want the markets to crash so the billionaires can swoop in and buy at a low price. Our nation is under attack from within and from outside sources. Story 63. He is a complete fool. Assuming we still have history books, he will be remembered as our biggest mistake. Story 64. For 4 years, he regarded the state of the stock market as the measure of his success. But now he avoids mentioning it entirely. He knows he is a dismal failure. Story 65. Another first for this incubus. The American people have voted to end democracy, but hopefully not to end the free market. His following is quite strong. They will spin and manipulate the truth. His favorite trick is to do something even worse to distract us from yesterday's foolishness. We have become reality television. What is your favorite episode of Trump's outbursts? Story 66. It is a scam. Lower stock prices allow the wealthy to buy them at a low cost. Once one of the countries provides a small, insignificant concession, they will claim it is a huge victory, remove the tariffs, and the wealthy will become significantly richer. Story 67. Wishing I had just transferred my retirement savings when I took the tax hit and put it in a savings account. I would still have the money and not watch it drop so drastically. Rest in peace to my retirement. I am glad I have good life insurance so my wife can live comfortably for a couple of years. Story 68. Not surprised at all. Republicans often damage the economy to acquire assets at a low cost, then benefit from the economic recovery led by Democrats to increase their wealth. They have consistently acted this way. Story 69. Those individuals were clearly defeated. Honestly, I'm not surprised. Anyone who is intelligent knows the plan is to push everything to the breaking point and then have the wealthy buy it for cheap. Hopefully, people will rise up at that point, and we can implement some progressive social policies. Story 70. Sad but happy because I sold all my stock 3 weeks ago. I also planted a vegetable garden. We are considering getting chickens, but that's a whole other topic. I will definitely be stocking up on staple goods, not hoarding, just buying 2 instead of 1. If you live in an area with a significant homeless population, be cautious because there may be an increase in homelessness. Let's hope that Walmart and other places will allow people to park cars overnight at least. Walmart would benefit from setting up a couple of shower enclosures that can be activated by inserting 50 cents and providing a few portable toilets as well. It seems that doomsday preppers had the right idea after all. Story 71. He is a terrible person who does not understand how the market works or the economy. Look at his record. Story 72. Well, we no longer have any question about who the worst president in U.S. history is. We have one trying to top the list. Story 73. I'm in my let's burn it all down mood. So if his decisions continue to hurt his base and his most loyal supporters, that's fine. Story 74. Anyone who has watched one of his campaign speeches, his support for the insurrection, or even a partial episode of The Apprentice knows what to expect. The Trump Organization bankruptcies were more of the same chaotic behavior. I don't think he is intelligent enough to become a leader like Putin, but with guidance from Elon and a few more ideas from Putin or Lukashenko, he is going to make a real attempt. Individuals like Mike and Marjorie Taylor Greene are essentially ineffective staff. Story 75. Pop on over to Bot Central, and they are willing to endure short-term pain to get what they want. The key phrase is short-term, so essentially for the next 4 years, buckle up. It's going to get worse before it gets better, if it ever gets better. Story 76. I hope it will make voters become more aware and put effort into choosing candidates. It may be painful, but it could be the wake-up call America needs to avoid falling apart. It is unlikely, but it is the only potentially optimistic perspective I can consider. Story 77. The money never existed. It's a market correction. The people at the top have been gambling with pretend money while living off your real money. Even then, your money isn't real. It hasn't been real for a long time. The American dollar is a complicated mess of speculations on promises related to war and oil. Every war since the Cold War has been strictly to keep the dollar flowing while the people who run the show use it to hoard physical assets. Precious metals, property, art, companies, patents, ideas, and information. The people at the bottom are getting squeezed harder and harder. They are always squeezed. Throughout history, the lower class has been exploited. Revolution is inevitable. The pattern is unavoidable. This is human nature on a global scale. This has been a long time coming. Trump is just a name. Only history will be able to decide if, in the next century's history book, it is placed next to Lincoln or next to Stalin. Story 78. He is an old, decrepit individual. These are the exact reasons people thought he was not intelligent to begin with. He is doing exactly what he said he would. I dislike it. It is very disappointing. Could ruin us financially. But I guess they got rid of the overly sensitive individuals, so it is all worth it. There are foolish people everywhere. Story 79. Isn't it their goal to crash the market and buy it all up? And then restructure society? The United States needs labor if it is going to bring manufacturing back to shore. Warren Buffett must be in a state of euphoria right now. Story 80. This has done nothing to change my opinion of Donald Trump. In the array of misguided and harmful actions, damaging the economy is the one I fear least. Why? Because it can be reversed in the future, and it will significantly undermine support for him. Story 81. I anticipated it. Elon predicted it. Banks warned of it. This is what the people chose. Find ways to make lemonade. Story 82. Sits back and plays Something Dark is Coming. Battlestar Galactica Season 2 original soundtrack. But seriously, the market capitalization wipe is just the tip of the iceberg. We have Britain signaling that Canada would be defended with nuclear weapons in the event of an American offensive effort at the request of Canada. Think about that. If the United States abandons the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, this aggressive action could invoke Article 5 against the United States. I mean, this is completely bizarre to even be having this conversation. Our greatest allies are subject to our shortcomings. It doesn't feel good. I honestly fear for my children as a United States citizen. This level of instability is bound to cause chaos and unrest, and the powers that be in the administration do not seem too concerned about the people as a whole, unless it can be profitable. Story 83. He and his friends can take their money and leave. Go live your lives far from actual humans. Story 84. Are Russian goods cheap? I wonder if part of the plan is undermining our existing trade deals to create one with Russia so that their economy can recover using our consumer spending. Is that the ultimate goal here? Story 85. You mean the party responsible for starting 10 of the last 11 recessions is going to do it again? I am shocked. If only their supporters paid attention in their history and economics classes. Story 86. I believe the United States is a failed experiment, and I would like to see the country break up and form regionalized countries similar to Europe, with our own version of a system that allows ease of movement across borders. Everyone should go their own way at this point. I am in California. Story 87. What else did they expect? They elected a man who bankrupted his own casino and expected him to make sound financial decisions for the country. Story 88. I believe that many people understood this outcome, and that a significant number of Trump supporters may not be well informed. Story 89. The recession is approaching more quickly than I expected. There will not be much Christmas this year since we are already in a depression. Story 90. Trump is a person who will harm the United States just to make himself feel important and powerful. Things are only going to get worse, and anyone who thinks Trump or his associates care about anything but themselves is mistaken. Story 91. People have a short memory. Even before COVID-19, Trump was actively worsening the economy. I believe the stock market experienced its lowest day ever during his first term in office due to threats of a trade war with China. I cannot believe people actually thought he would usher in a second golden age. Story 92. I believe he is intentionally destroying our economy so that billionaires can buy everything up, as Elon Musk mentioned they would do. Then any recovery, after harming so many, will be presented as proof that we are winning and doing great. Many will believe this even though he caused the damage. Story 93. The goal is to collapse the economy and create a situation similar to China in the 1990s. Massive unemployment will cause people to fight for jobs. Those with jobs will be afraid to speak out because they can be easily removed and will accept any wage because something is better than nothing. To create this situation, They first have to dismantle the federal government, which some politicians are currently pursuing. Soon, they will begin eliminating federal agencies through illegal means, and then the Supreme Court will rule in favor of the president. They aim for the United States to revert to conditions seen in the 1850s, with no federal oversight and the wealthy controlling most government operations through bribery. Story 94. The Americans with critical thinking skills knew it was coming, and we know it is going to get worse. Supporters of this movement will find a reason to explain why this is a good thing. What a hopeless cause. Story 95. I don't know. Ask again in 3 months to see if it is worse or better. No single day should inform you of a market's long-term durability. Story 96. America has been a poor debtor for a long time. The current leadership is the worst example of a country characterized by greed, excess, arrogance, and short-sightedness. I find it fascinating to observe America's decline. Story 97. He is a traitor to this nation and should face justice for treason. He is clearly a foreign asset, and the entire Republican Party is complicit. They all deserve accountability as well. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.